From Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News Today.
A man is behind bars after a shots fired call during a confrontation in Columbia.
New information about the suspected Sandy Hook Elementary School gunman. And a mid-Missouri canoe race attracts athletes training for the Olympics.
Good morning. Today is Friday, March 29th, 2013. Thanks so much for waking up with us. Your time is 5:27, in case you're wondering. I'm Megan Murphy.
And I'm Emily Helger in for Emily Spain.
And I'm Tori Stepanek in for Eric Aldrich. Now, hopefully you guys got to go outside, experience the day yesterday.
It was so nice yesterday.
So nice.
Beautiful.
Open the windows, let the door,
Right.
just a little
Sunroof
breeze come
open.
through. It's great.
Right. Well, good news is today should be pretty similar to where we were yesterday in a little bit.
Thanks, Tori.
One state agency's actions have affected this year's budget process.
Lawmakers accuse the State Department of Revenue of breaking multiple state laws. KOMU 8's Garrett Berquist joins us in the studio to tell us how this should affect the budget.
Well, Emily and Megan, as we've previously reported, lawmakers said the Department of Revenue lied about a Department of Homeland Security grant it is using to collect driver's license data. In response, the House added two provisions to that agency's budget bill this week. First, it prohibited any general revenue or federal funds from being used to collect such data. Then it appropriated exactly $1 for scanning documents related to driver's licenses and another $1 to buy a photo validation system. That effectively eliminates any funding available for the department to use. The House passed the budget, but then the Senate Majority Leader announced that chamber wouldn't even consider the budget until the Department of Revenue answers questions about the data and how it gets rid of equipment it uses to collect that data. Senate Majority Leader Ron Richards says he is willing to push the budget into the summer while the Senate investigates. The Department of Revenue hasn't answered any questions about the data collection, but it tells us it has not broken any state laws in getting rid of the equipment it uses to collect that data and replacing it with new equipment. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast.
Thank you very much. Here's a look at your local headlines. Columbia police responded to a disturbance between two males on Quail Drive last night around 5:30 after Joint Communications advised two shots were fired and the suspect fled the scene on foot. After a short foot pursuit of the suspect, 45-year-old James O. Johnson was taken into custody for assault in the first degree, armed criminal action, possession of a stolen firearm, and felon in possession of a firearm with a to-be-set bond. KOMU 8 News will have more on this story as it develops. Easter activities are occurring all throughout mid-Missouri this weekend and be Easter for Western Christianity. Here's a quick list of some of the events in our viewing area. There's a fish fry in Columbia this morning for Good Friday at St. Paul's Church on Park Avenue. It all starts at 10:30 a.m. Catfish and coleslaw are on the menu. There's an Easter egg hunt tomorrow at Douglas Park. There will be two separate hunts for different age groups. There will also be face painting and pinning the Easter eggs in the basket. That hunt begins at noon. There's also an Easter egg hunt in Fulton tomorrow from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Whitlow Pavilion. That event's free and open to the public. And finally, an Easter egg hunt in Ashland at Ashland City Park at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. The Columbia Pachyderm Club is hosting a weekly luncheon at Jack's Gourmet Restaurant with Senator Kurt Schaefer as the honorary guest. Schaefer will speak on legislative update. The Mule Skinners also have a weekly luncheon today at the Columbia Country Club. MU political science professor David Leuthold will be discussing Myanmar and spreading of the democracy. There's an optional buffet and a discount for students. The Perchie Creek Gutbuster is a 10.3-mile canoe and kayak race that all starts tomorrow morning at 11. The race starts at the Providence Fishing Access in Columbia. This year, U.S. Olympic canoe and kayak coach Sean Caven is participating, along with 11 of his paddlers, many of whom are training for the 2016 Olympics.
Thanks, Megan. It's been over 3 months since the Sandy Hook shooting. Coming up, some of the details are finally released, and some numbers are so chilling, you've got to see it to believe it.
And things are looking to stay pretty clear for your Easter.
Welcome back. More details of the deadly shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut are emerging as a result of newly released search warrants. According to the documents released Thursday, Adam Lanza was in the school less than 5 minutes before he took his own life. The 20-year-old shot and killed 20 children and 6 adults at the school. 154 casings were recovered from the school. The documents also state that the weapons found in Lanza's house included guns, more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition, several swords, as well as a bayonet. Also found in his home, a holiday card from his mother containing a check made out to him for the purchase of a firearm. Rallies were held in communities across the country Thursday demanding new gun safety laws in what was billed as National Day to Demand Action. The rallies were largely organized by the Michael Bloomberg-backed Mayors Against Illegal Guns. Organizers say more than 140 events were scheduled in 29 states, timed to influence lawmakers home on Easter break. However, counter-protesters also appeared at some of the rallies, opposing any new restrictions on assault weapons, magazine capacities, or increased background checks. And finally, Oklahoma health officials are asking 7,000 dental patients to undergo testing for hepatitis and HIV. A complaint against Scott Harrington in Tulsa led investigators to discover safety issues at his dental practice, including a unit for sterilizing equipment which wasn't working properly. Although there is no evidence that patients were exposed to hepatitis or AIDS, testing is being suggested as a precautionary measure. Harrington has voluntarily closed his office while the investigation continues. He could lose his license for major violations of the Oklahoma Dental Act. A flash flood that swept through a town in northern Spain has devastated a small community. A nearby river overflowed overnight and people woke up to half a foot of water in their homes. One man said he was woke up to his dog barking and discovered his first floor underwater. At least 15 families had to be evacuated. Another man said the town hasn't flooded in over 50 years. Many cars could hardly be seen because they were submerged. It's rained in the area for days and more rain is expected. Madagascar's agricultural ministry has declared a national disaster after swarms of locusts descended on most of the country's crops for 2 years in a row. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, says Madagascar needs $41 million to stop the plague of locusts. Locusts have threatened 60% of the country's rice production and are potentially dangerous for the country's livestock. Other green vegetation is threatened as well. Scientists say the country is experiencing a locust invasion, and if nothing's done to stop them, the country will be covered by locusts by September.
Police say an Oregon man tried to steal a car right out of a driveway. What he didn't expect was the trouble he got from the car's owner, a former rodeo cowboy who put his skills to good use as he tried to take back his car. Mike Benner reports.
Had some faded paint on the hood, but not a dent. I'm not going to let somebody take them.
The suspect is facing a laundry list of charges, including theft and unlawful use of a motor vehicle. He is expected to appear before a judge Friday afternoon.
Now, your live Doppler 8 First Alert weather.
Well, good morning of this upcoming work week.
Thank you, Tori. Government health officials are puffing out the second round of a graphic ad campaign in hopes of helping smokers kick the habit. It's a $48 million campaign from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention consisting of television, radio, and online spots, as well as print and billboard ads. The ads feature real-life stories by people affected by smoking, including a mother and her 7-year-old son from New York who has asthma attacks from secondhand smoke. The CDC believes its last effort convinced tens of thousands of smokers to quit. And AT&T has a new item on its menu of phones. It'll start taking pre-orders for Samsung's Galaxy S4 on April 16th. The cost will be $250 with a 2-year contract. That price is $50 higher than the phone's predecessor, the Galaxy S3, and Apple's rival iPhone 5. AT&T hasn't said when the phone will go on sale in stores or when pre-orders will be delivered.
Now let's get check of the day's top business headlines from CNBC on this Friday morning.
Off to our south. We'll have another check at your weather coming up after the break.
Mizzou Tigers softball has its ace, but the backup took off. Coming up, see how the Tigers prep for SEC play with some uncertainty on the mound.
Welcome back. Now, if you're getting ready to head out.
Now, from the Ford Sports Desk, KOMU 8 Sports.
The NCAA men's basketball tournament resumed with play in the Sweet 16 last night. How's your bracket doing?
Doing pretty well. I lost one Final Four team, but everybody else is still intact. So Indiana really killed me. And I have them in the finals, too.
Well, that's doing a lot better than me. Georgetown was my champion. They got eliminated in the first round.
Oh, yeah, you did. Sorry to laugh. Thank you, James. A local school district could see some serious changes.
Coming up, why 4 teachers could be out of a job.
Live look out over Columbia at 5:51 on this Friday. You're looking at the Memorial Union right there. We'll be right back.
Coming work week.
That is nice to know. And you know what? Easter Sunday looks pretty great.
Right. At least for the daytime hours. You'll get time to go outside and do all that good stuff.
Some Easter egg hunts are important, except they might be soggy on Saturday.
Right, you don't leave any outdoors.
Yeah, no white shoes.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Candidates for Columbia's next mayoral and 2 city council seats took part in a final forum last night. About a dozen Columbia residents asked the questions of the candidates, but one came from someone who lives outside the city limits. She wanted to know the candidates' positions on the 911 sales tax. While the incumbent council members and mayors say they are for the tax, their challengers aren't so confident. Incumbent Mayor Bob McDavid says the 911 system needs to be improved and is confident in the sales tax. However, his challenger, Sid Sullivan, says the tax would be too much of a burden and put too much of a burden on low-income residents.
Putting it into one organization that is accountable to an elected official, in this case it will be the county commission and or the sheriff, I think is a good thing.
The sales tax hits the poorest people the hardest because they're the ones that spend their entire income. So they're the ones that are going to be supporting this.
The proposed countywide 3/8 cent sales tax would fund nearly $20 million of improvements to the 911 call center, including a new building and new equipment. The election scheduled for next Tuesday.
A small town school district may see as many as 4 teachers leave its middle school. The superintendent of Marys County says it's all about teacher evaluations, but tonight the school board is looking into it during a closed session. Samantha White, the new principal of the middle school, sent out notice based on evaluations to 4 teachers and recommended the board not to renew the contracts with them next school year. One of the 4 teachers resigned yesterday. White says having good personalities and meeting with the expectations and standards the school sets are different things. But Superintendent Gary Dorhoff says many parents and students told him they are upset about what White did.
When you look at the big picture of things, there's several things you have to look at. You have to look at classroom management, the instructional process, how well they get along with their peers, how well they do their job, and the overall perception are the students learning.
The board members went through the evaluations and discussed the recommendations for the future of the teachers. KOMU 8 News will have an update on last night's meeting later today. New information has surfaced in the murder of a former Missouri Department of Corrections official. The man suspected of killing Tom Clements in Colorado threatened to kill a guard while in prison. That's just one episode in a long history for Evan Ebel, who died in a shootout with Texas police last week. In prison, Ebel was so violent he was placed in solitary confinement several times. Investigators are also at a woman who allegedly bought Ebel the gun used to kill Clements. 22-year-old Stevie Vigil was arrested and is being held on $25,000 bond. The state budget passed in the House yesterday, but just minutes later, the Senate refused to consider it until it says the Department of Revenue answers its questions.
A Missouri senator is accusing the agency of violating multiple state laws. The Senate Majority Leader says he'll delay the budget until the Department of Revenue explains what it's doing with Missouri driver's license data and surplus state property.
This comes after Columbia senator says constituents told him the agency is selling state property to a private contractor.
Coming up, we've been up early this morning.
We might be tired because of work, but we'll give you some info on how to avoid some of those common sleep disorders.
I love when we run these stories. We run these stories like, if you don't sleep enough, you'll look really old and scary, or you'll die soon. Way to tell us that, right?
Thank you. Nice start my morning.
Well, things aren't too bad as you head out the door this morning. Most of us are already into those 40s, and that sunshine should return to us within the next couple of hours.
You're taking a live look out over mid-Missouri. Thanks for starting your morning with us. We'll be right back.